In the dusty heart of 1880s Montana, where the wind whispered secrets through the endless prairies, a crowd gathered under a merciless sun. Eliza Thorne stood bound to a wooden post in the center of Willow Creek's town square, her back exposed to the lash of a whip wielded by her own husband, Harlan. The crime? Bearing twin daughters in a world that prized sons like gold nuggets. Useless mouths to feed, Harlan snarled, his voice thick with whiskey and rage, as the leather cracked against her skin for the third time. Blood seeped through her tattered dress, but Eliza didn't cry out, not for herself, but for the tiny bundles cradled in a basket at her feet, their innocent wails piercing the air like arrows. The townsfolk watched in uneasy silence, their faces etched with the harsh lines of frontier life, where survival often trumped mercy. Eliza had come west as a mail-order bride, full of dreams spun from damn novels and desperate hope. Back in Boston, she'd been an orphan scraping by in a textile mill, her hands calloused from endless threads. Marrying Harlan promised a fresh start, a homestead, a family. But the land was unforgiving, and so was he. Their first child, a boy, had died of fever before his first birthday, leaving Harlan bitter and blaming Eliza for every misfortune. When the twins arrived, two perfect girls with curls like spun sunlight, he saw only burden, not blessing. No heirs for the farm, he'd spat, dragging her to town for justicia in the old way, a relic of pioneer punishment that most had abandoned. As the fourth lash fell, Eliza's vision blurred, but she locked eyes on her babies, whispering silent vows to protect them, even if it meant her end. From the edge of the crowd, a shadow stirred. Jack Harlan, no relation to her tormentor, thank God, was a rugged rancher known across the territory for his solitary ways. Tall and broad-shouldered, with a beard like weathered oak and eyes that held the depth of Montana's endless skies, he'd built his spread from nothing after losing his family to a blizzard years ago, wife and daughter, gone in one frozen night. He rarely came to town, preferring the company of his cattle and the quiet of his ranch. But today, something pulled him in, a rumor of trouble, or perhaps fate's invisible threat. As the whip rose again, Jack's voice boomed like thunder. Enough. He strode forward, his boots kicking up dust, and grabbed Harlan's arm mid-swing. The crowd gasped. Harlan bearded, face purple with fury. This ain't your business, stranger. Jack's gaze flicked to Eliza, her strength evident even in her pain, then to the twins, their cries tugging at a long-buried ache in his chest. It is now, he growled. In a blur of motion, he disarmed Harlan with a single twist, the whip falling to the ground. The sheriff, a lazy man more interested in his saloon stool than law, shuffled forward. Jack, you interfering? But Jack stood firm, his presence a wall against the mob. This woman's done no wrong. Birthing girls ain't a sin, it's a gift. Whispers rippled through the crowd, some nodded, others scowled. Harlan laughed, but Jack felled him with a punch that echoed like a rifle shot. As Harlan lay groaning, Jack untied Eliza, his rough hands gentle as he helped her stand. She winced, clutching her side, but met his eyes with defiance. Why, she whispered. He glanced at the babies. Because no one deserves this. You live with me now. You and the little ones. The ride to Jack's ranch was a haze of pain and uncertainty for Eliza. Bundled in his wagon, the twins nestled against her, she stole glances at this stranger who'd upended her world. His ranch sprawled across a valley rimmed by snow-capped peaks, a sturdy cabin flanked by barns and corrals where horses nickered softly. It was modest but well-kept, a testament to hard work and quiet pride. Jack carried her inside without a word, setting her on a bed draped in quilts his late wife had sewn. He fetched a basin of water, tending her wounds with surprising tenderness, his calloused fingers applying salve from a tin on the shelf. Ain't much, but it'll heal, he muttered. Eliza watched him, wary. Men like Harlan had taught her caution. What do you want from me, she asked, voice steady despite the ache. Jack paused, his eyes distant. Nothing, you ain't willin' to give. Just company. This place is too empty. Days blurred into weeks as Eliza recovered. The twins, whom she named Lily and Rose after the wildflowers blooming outside, thrived on fresh milk from Jack's cows. He was a man of few words, rising at dawn to mend fences or herd cattle, but his actions spoke volumes. He built a cradle from pine wood, carving delicate patterns into the sides, roses and lilies, a silent nod to her choices. Eliza, once confined to Harlan's drudgery, found herself helping where she could, mending clothes, tending a small garden. But shadows linger. Whispers from town reached them, Harlan stirring trouble, claiming Jack had stolen his property. And Eliza wrestled with her own demons, fearing dependence on another man, even one as kind as Jack. One evening, as sunset painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, an unexpected turn shattered the fragile peace. A rider arrived, dust-coated and urgent. Harlan, backed by a posse of roughnecks, was coming to reclaim what he called his. Jack's face hardened, but Eliza saw fear flicker in his eyes, not for himself, but for her and the girls. That night, by the fire's glow, he shared his story. "Lost my Mary and little Annie to the cold," he said, voice rough. "Blamed myself for not being enough. Swore I'd never let anyone close again." Eliza's heart softened, she recognized the mirror of her own pain. "We're all broken somehow," she replied. "But maybe we can mend together." It was a profound realization, for both, that kindness wasn't weakness, but the truest strength. The confrontation came at dawn. Harlan and his men crested the hill, rifles glinting. Jack stood on the porch, shotgun in hand, but Eliza stepped forward, twins in her arms. "This ends now," she declared, her voice carrying the weight of her scars. Harlan sneered, but the posse hesitated, seeing the family tableau. Jack moved beside her. "She's free, Harlan. And if you come closer, you'll answer to me." Words turned to shouts, then a scuffle. In the chaos, Harlan lunged at Eliza, but Jack intercepted, taking a graze from a wild shot. As blood bloomed on his shoulder, he didn't falter. "Go," he roared at Harlan, who, seeing the tide turn, townsfolk arriving, drawn by the noise, fled like a coward into the hills. In the aftermath, as Eliza bandaged Jack's wound, tears fell freely. "You could have died," she whispered. It cupped her face, his touch electric with unspoken emotion. "For you and those girls? Worth it." It was the climax of their shared journey, an act of selfless compassion that transformed fear into unbreakable bond. Jack wasn't just saving her, he was redeeming himself, proving humanity's power to heal even the deepest wounds. Years later, the ranch flourished, lily and rose growing into spirited young women who roamed the fields with laughter echoing like birdsong. Eliza and Jack married under a canopy of stars, their love a quiet fire that warmed the coldest nights. Harlan faded into obscurity, a cautionary tale. And in Willow Creek, folks spoke of the rugged rancher who reminded them that true strength lies in lifting others up. In a world often harsh and unforgiving, their story whispered hope, that kindness, given freely, can rewrite destinies, turning strangers into family and pain into purpose. For in the end, it's the selfless heart that endures, inspiring us all to believe in the goodness waiting just beyond the horizon.